This week on the podcast, it's just me again. I got home super late, Zio is in bed, Toll bit his tongue and now has a lisp, Nab is almost asleep, and Thane is... well, actually, I don't even know what he's doing. But we're going to be starting this podcast off with some of the questions of last week's podcast, and then we'll be diving straight into Star Citizen. And we'll also be talking about Thane's new Amazing Killer top tier 12 out of 10 star streaming setup he's hooked up for us, and our live streaming adventures. But if you don't know already, you're listening to the Sunovageek Podcast. Son of a geek! Hey guys, I'm Spencer. So last week at the end of the podcast, we asked everyone what drives you to play video games. Two of our favorite responses came from Sigma and Venkman30. Sigma says, "It gives me connection. I connect through video games with people. Without video games, I wouldn't have as many friends as I have now. I wouldn't have met you guys." Nah, thanks, Sigma. I think it's a really good answer. Connection is a thing that the video games brings together for a lot of us. Whether it's through online games, whether it's through single-player games, talking through forums, or whether it's a game you really like and looking through YouTube or other forms of media to find other content like it, and seeing other people with like-minded ideas and having friendships develop from that. There's this form of connection that video games kind of brings to everybody, which is really exciting. So Venkman30 says, "It's an escape from everyday life and allows you to do or be what you choose for that time you're playing," which is also, I think, a very, very cool answer because video games are an escape. They allow us to travel off to different locations, to different worlds, be people we are, be people we aren't, be people we could never be, do things we'll never see. And it's this escape from everything that's going on in our daily lives that can be a refreshing thing and an exciting moment for any time and anything that can happen. And my God, normally we start with what I've been playing this week, but there's really only one answer to it, and it's Star Citizen. Toll started doing a series a while ago on YouTube for it, and I loved it. I super enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun watching how he did his character. It was super quirky, super fun, and it was really interesting and different than anything we'd done before for any of our video content. And I thought Star Citizen was going to be a cool game. I know I've been following it a little bit since, I don't know how many years ago it came out, or at least launched into early access. And I was just like, I don't know if this is going to be for me. But my God, I was wrong. I really should have jumped in on this sooner. It's got everything that I've ever wanted in a simulation game. I absolutely love them. I've been playing simulation games for as long as I can remember. I've loved things like Minecraft. I've loved Space Engineers. And I can't get enough. And I just can't get enough of games like it. I think, there's so many things about this game that are really cool. It sounds kind of silly, but what I love about it is how slow the game is. It really slows you down to kind of more of a... realistic speed isn't the right kind of thing, and I know this word gets thrown all around a lot with this game. And it's immersion, and it really deserves it, though. As much as immersion's a meme for Star Citizen, it really does such a good job with it. It honestly feels like I'm in space, I'm flying around in a ship, and I'm exploring this universe. And it does it through lots of subtle details, where whenever you start the game and you log in, you wake up on a bed. If you haven't, for the most part, you wake up in a station. You get out of the bed, you go out, and you start making your way down over into the main section. So you've got to leave the apartment or the hotel room, whatever it is that you're in, and you've got to go and get the elevator. So you have to call it, wait for it to get there, jump in, decide the floor you're going to, wait for it to take you down to the next section. Then you walk around, you decide, all right, am I going to do a mission? Do I want to go do some shopping? Do I want to go check out some ships? And then depending on what you want to do, you have to go to different parts of the space station. If you're in a station in space, it's a lot smaller. There's not as much stuff that you get to interact with. But if you're on one of the main cities on some of the planets, that's where the immersion really, really takes over. Because it's like this big, massive city. And there's different... we'll call them districts. There's different sections of the city where there's the habitat section where you spawn into the game, where you can log out. There is the, I don't remember what they call it. There's a section of the city where you go and there's tons of different stores. There's different food vendors. There's clothing stores. There's stores for weapons, armor and clothes. One for sections for buying ships. And then there's another section where it is the kind of like the spaceport where you go and request your ship. It gets delivered to a landing pad, so you can go to the landing pad to take off. And between each of these districts, there is it's called the tram. It's basically a train system, kind of like a subway car like a futuristic subway car that takes you from each place. And you get into it, and it starts taking you to the next location. And as it's going through, you can look at the windows and you see this massive expanse of a city. And each city is so cool. It's so unique. It's so different. And you just look out at it and you're just, it's just, the first time you see it, it's breathtaking. There's no words that explain how fantastical it is. Just, it's the first moment where you're like, wow, like this is a massive game and a universe that I'm a part of, because it's all seamless. There's no loading screens except for when you first start the game, where from the time you get out of the little place you log in, go in, come down to the main lobby, take the tram over to the starports. You go in and request your ship. You go out into the hangar. You then get in the ship. You take off out of the hangar. You fly up into space. You go to another planet. You land down at that station. You go and you buy stuff. You accept some missions. You go and trade some goods. It's all seamless. It's all connected. There's no loading screens between any of it. And it's magical. And one of the big elements of the game is it's basically shut up and wait, where you are waiting for the tram to go to another place. You're flying to another mission. And it seems like it would be really boring. It seems like it would suck. But there's something about it that's just so different and special. I don't know if it's the freedom or just the expanse of the game, but it's magical, and I can't get enough of it. I haven't even been I think I've played the game for a little bit over a week now, and I at least right now, I feel this is the game that's going to take over all of the other games that I've been playing. I've been trying to get into some different RPGs. I've been playing some Tales of games. I've been playing Celeste: Crown of the Magister. But I think this game is really just going to take over for me. The last time I felt like this was back when the original Guild Wars came out. I started playing it a year after it released, and I was hooked on it. It was the first... You know what? Maybe what it is that game was the first time I had the experience of such a large open game. It was the first MMO I ever played. And I played it for years and years and years. And I loved the exploration elements of it. And Star Citizen kind of reopened what it is for the exploration. And it blows my mind. Just the amount that I can go around and do whatever I want. I can explore what I want. I can take missions where I want, when I want. And it's just magical. So my first experience with the game, I played a little bit ahead of time because we were going to be playing some Star Citizen for a stream. The plan was we were going to get together, a bunch of us and from game, and a veteran to the game. And we were going to jump in. He was going to show us some of the stuff. We were going to have some fun, go around and play the game. I wanted to play a little bit ahead of time so I could understand the controls, understand what was going on for it. And the first time I played the game, I think I sat down for like 4 or 5 hours and I didn't get back up. And then the second time I sat down for the game, I played... God, I don't remember the last time I pulled a 24-hour. Like, I sat down to start playing it, and it came time for me to go to sleep. And I was just like, you know what, no. No, it's not happening. I played the game all night. I played it all the way into the morning. I played it all the way into the afternoon. I played it all the way into the evening. I don't remember the last time I was able to do that. Most of the time when I try, over the last few years, I've tried to do that. And usually by about 3 or 4 in the morning, I'm just like, I'm dead and I can't do it. But this game had me. It hooked me and I couldn't stop. There was a brief moment where we had some issues with the servers. So I hopped off. And I went to go and watch an anime episode because some new shows had just released. And I got halfway through the episode and I was just like, I can't do this. I'm going to fall asleep. And then I look over at my computer and I'm like, well, we'll just quickly try and see if the servers are going. And I get back in, and then suddenly I'm wide awake and I'm going and I can't stop. And it's just been an absolute blast. What's neat for me is when I play these games, I get really into the experience of, I like to kind of, I don't know if I can really say roleplay. It's kind of along the lines of that. I like to kind of get into the embodiment of somewhat of a character, and I start to think, okay, how would this character react to things? How would he do things? And so I kind of started to create the idea of this character, and I went through and I started taking some different missions, and there's a couple different tabs for missions. There are public missions, there's personal missions, and then I don't remember what the other ones are. I don't actually, off the top of my head, I don't remember if there are other options. I thought personal missions were missions that were just people had requested you specifically, like maybe they were storyline missions. Because there was one of the missions where it's like, so this guy wants to meet you. He's got a mission for you. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is great. So I do a couple of those missions, and it slowly starts to set in that, like, hey, personal mission, like, I'm doing illegal work here. Like, I went out and I picked up a package of this product, and then I went to a station, brought it there, so that it got broken down into something, and then I took it to another station, so it got processed into this little bag of whatever it was. So I'm like, I don't know what this is. Put it in my pocket. I fly up to the station, and then I go off to the drop-off point. I'm like, a trash can? Why am I delivering this to a trash can? I'm like, that's weird. So then I go to do the next personal mission where I'm supposed to meet up with this guy. And so I fly over to, I don't remember the name of the city. The names of the cities are still new to me. But the whole planet is just a massive complex of like buildings and structures. Is it New Tech? It might be New Tech, something along the lines of that. And so I go through and I start following all these pathways to get to this guy who owns this reclamation center or something like that. It's like some sort of business about breaking down objects into something. He deals with scrap metal and stuff like that too. And so I get up to him and he starts telling me about this mission, and I'm just like, this doesn't sound legit, because he's giving me all this information about what needs to be done. And so then I go and I take off, and I go and I start looking at the information in my contract that I got from him. I'm like, this is kind of sketchy. Like, what kind of work am I getting myself into? So I go through and I go to start the mission. I'm supposed to go and break into this facility and deal with these guys. I'm just like, well, maybe these are bad guys. Maybe these guys have taken over this facility. I'm supposed to stop them. So I get down there and I walk in, and immediately I can tell, like, these guys are like souped up. They've got armor, they've got weapons. All I've got is my starting gear and a handgun. And I'm like, all right, let's see what can happen. So I sneak in there, take out the first guy with my pistol. Sneak a little bit farther, take out the second guy with my pistol. Sneak it a little bit farther, instant headshot and death. I die, I respawn, and I continue playing for a little bit more. I decide to try out some of the trading. Because I got the Nomad starter pack. So it's this new ship that came out 5 days before I started playing. And so I load it up with cargo. I start flying out to some place. As I'm approaching to land, I come in way too fast, crash, explode, lose everything. And I go through this next period of time where I crash the ship trying to do some deliveries. I crash the ship trying to do some other stuff. I did so well the first couple times, and then completely butchered the ship the next little bit. So I lost tons of money. A little bit later on, I'm talking with some of the guys in Discord, and they're like, no, Spencer. The personal missions, those are illegal jobs. You're doing illegal work. You're not supposed to be doing this kind of stuff. So I'm like, whoa, like, all right, I don't know how I feel about that. So then I log back in and I go to pick some other contracts, but I'm just kind of like, my character accidentally stumbled in to this realm of these illegal jobs. I'm like, I kind of like this. Like, I went to go do some of the normal contracts, but I'm like, it doesn't feel as exciting knowing that I was doing this illegal work where there's like a little bit more of like a like I felt like the edge, the burn from it, you know. So I decided but I'm like, all right, you know what, fine. I don't want to build up a bounty so that I can't play with these guys. So I do a couple of the other contracts. I do some basic deliveries. I try to do another mercenary one. I don't have the gear. I don't know where to buy guns. I don't know where to buy armor. So I'm just like, maybe I'll just sneak in and do a couple more of the personal contracts. I mean, they keep getting sent to me. There's no great contracts in the other one that I'm excited for. So I start doing a few more of them, and I start to kind of it's kind of exciting, you know, when I'm going to do these different missions and I'm supposed to kind of sneak into this area and do something a little bit more low key, something a little bit more dangerous. At the time, I didn't have any really dangerous contracts. It was just kind of the simple ones. So it was stuff that it was easy for me to get through and not really build up any negative connotations for it. Until there was one mission I went to go do where I was supposed to go to this location to pick up a package. And I go to land there and like this, I hear in my communications, like, warning, this is... like, you're not supposed to be here. This property is private. You need to leave the premise. I'm just like, this has never happened before. I don't know what's going on. So I start flying in closer and flying in closer. And then suddenly these turrets pop up and they lock onto me. And they start blasting at me. So I've got to like take the ship, fly off, zip off to the side. I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. So I try to like come down onto the ground and I land on the other side of this hill and I get out of the ship. And I climb up onto the top of the hill and I just peek over and I'm like, okay, the turrets aren't targeting me. Maybe I can make it in there. So I start like walking down, getting closer, trying to see where that line is where the turrets will start shooting me. So if the second I see them turn, I can zip back. And then I'm like, all right, sweet. So I managed to sneak in there, walk up, pick up what I'm looking for, get back out, get in the ship, and I'm out of there. And I'm like, God, this is great. And then later on, when we went to the live stream, we were playing through some different stuff. And we started doing some of the combat missions. We weren't doing any of the illegal work because they were all like, no, we don't want to do that. We're like, that's illegal. That's bad. So I'm like, all right, fine. We'll just do the normal work for you guys. And so we go and we do a couple different jobs. We make some money. And we find where no. This isn't the live stream with Game yet. This was my own live stream where it was a couple other guys that I met up with. And so they showed me where to go to buy weapons and armor. And so I go in, I load myself up. I get some medium armor. I get a laser gun. I'm like, all right, I'm set. I'm good to go. So then later on, I'm playing on my own again. And I do a couple more missions, and I realize that it's tough to go in and do some of these combat missions on your own. Like, you die really quickly. There's a lot of times you get hit by a couple shots and you immediately start bleeding out. And you've got to quickly dip behind somewhere, get yourself some health back. And it's the first-person shooter elements of this game are tough. And it makes sense because the combats are short and quick. You go in, you blast, you kill maybe like 5 or 6 people, and then you get out of there. And they're quick, they're fast. You've got to be kind of stealthy if you're by yourself. And it how quick and deadly the combat is exhilarating, and it makes it feel more again, I'm using the immersive word. It feels a lot more immersive for it because it's just kind of like, man, I've only got one shot at this. Because if I die while I'm trying to complete this contract, now whatever planet and whatever station on whatever planet or moon I was in, I'm now spawned all the way back at whatever facility on whatever planet I'm in. I spawn back all the way at the last station that I docked at, which could be several planets away. It could be on a moon on the other side of the system. But on top of that, my ship's not there. My ship is on the planet. So I've got to go to the system and I've got to reclaim it, and then I've got to wait for it to get reclaimed. So then while all this time is going, I'm missing out on doing stuff. And my contract could fail, or even worse, while I'm on my way to the contract, I could run out of time there. And there's so much risk versus reward in this game that you don't really see in many others. That's exciting and thrilling. I can't get enough of it. I've leveled up my guy. Like, there's no levels in it. What I mean by that is I've equip myself up with some better gear now. I've got some heavy duty armor for when I go to do some of the nastier jobs. I've got myself a shotgun now, some grenades. I've got tons of ammo, tons of health kits. And things are going well until I started to get into some of the deeper contracts on the criminal the criminal aspects, the criminal sides, where I was going in and there's a facility with these big guns and I couldn't get to it. I had to park. I had to climb up over this hill, run down in towards it, and I get down in there and I've got my new heavy duty armor. I've got my gun. I'm ready for this, right? I'm like, nothing's gonna stop me. I'm gonna make $15,000 in this game, which is great because most of the missions are like delivery missions or other stuff where you only get 8,000, and it takes a while because you've got to go and pick up these 3 delivery boxes and then take them to 3 different locations, or go around to 3 different locations to pick up those and take them all to one location. And it takes a fair amount of time. But whereas this one, it was just land on the planet, walk in there, kill 6 guys, and get out. And I was like, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna make an absolute killing on this. Well, as I was sneaking up, I got this thing about private property. So immediately I got a warning, and then I got charged for illegal entry into this property. So I had another fine attached onto my character. At this point, I had a few others as well, just with different things of trying to evade the police so they didn't see that I was carrying illegal drugs, or some other things like that. So then... I went in and I got the trespassing fine, and then I snuck in there and I took out the first guy, and suddenly I saw like assault. I got a fine for assault. I got a fine for killing a guy. So that's when it clued in. I'm like, oh god, like this is a government facility that I'm infiltrating. I don't even really know why I'm infiltrating it. I know I'm going in and I'm killing these guys so I can shut down whatever's going on here. But I'm like, all right, so I get another fine, not a big deal. I go in and I take out the next guy, and then it does another one. And so for each of the 6 guys, there was another set of fines that were put on for each of the guys I killed. But at the end, I'm like, this is great. $15,000 in my pocket. I'm living the life. So I leave the facility. I start walking up towards my ship. I just get up over the hill and I see my ship, and then I watch as these big, massive missiles come flying and explode my ship. I'm looking around. I can't see where this is coming from. Suddenly this fire erupts all around me on the ground, blasting away. I get knocked onto the ground, start rolling down the hill, and then I just see shots pepper all around, just continually pushing me down the hill. I'm tumbling over, slowly losing health, and then I die. And when I wake up, I'm in prison. That's right, there's a prison in this game. So I thought, I'm going around having fun just being a criminal, but they've got an element in this game to deal with that, to deal with people that are doing the illegal activities, whether it's the illegal jobs, whether it's harassing other players. They've got this system. So you spawn in the jail, and depending on how much... I don't know if it's how many fines you've had or if it's accumulation of that as well as your crime stat, which there's 5 different levels to crime stat. So depending on what kind of illegal activities you've done, it slowly builds up, and then your crime stat will increase from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. I guess anything past 2, suddenly there's bounty hunter missions that appear for other players in the same instance as you. Or the same server as you, so that they can take the contract and then they come and kill you so that they can make money. And when you die, if you die from the bounty contract, or if you die from one of the security forces or like the police in the game, then you spawn in the jail. And so I spawned there. I find out I had, from that one mission that I did, I went from a 0 crime stat to a 4, pretty much instantly. And then there was this bounty, and instantly someone was like, all right, I'm taking this bounty. I'm getting this guy. And he found me and he got me. He had some amazing ship I've never even heard of or seen because I didn't see him come in or what. And so I went down into the center facility of this, and I had 10 hours, not in-game hours, but real-life hours that I was stuck in prison for. So what I could do for this now was I could go into the mines inside the prison, and I could go and mine resources, gather gems, bring them back, trade them in for the merits, which is the currency in jail. So I could then spend merits on either food or water to be able to survive, some different gear like oxygen stuff to survive longer inside the mine, or I could trade the merits in to reduce my prison sentence. Unfortunately, when that happened to me, the prison was there's some bugs going on in the game because it isn't early access still. So I went and gathered a bunch of resources and then went back to drop them in, and it just kept saying it failed. And so all the stuff I found, I wasn't able to trade them in for merits. So I'm like, well, great. I don't want to wait 10 hours to be able to play this game again. So I was like, well, I heard something about being able to break out of jail. So I was sitting there and I'm watching this guy, and I watch him go over to the side. He jumps up onto these rocks, climbs up over this vent. He punches these numbers into this panel, and then you watch as the vent slows down and it leaves an opening there, and then he climbs through it. So I'm like, where's this guy going? So I climb up into the vent behind him, and I watch as he starts moving through this section, and we move through this old kind of falling apart ventilation system, and then we move out into this area where it's like these cave systems, and it's like this big maze of ways that you can go and move your way around. So I spent an hour and a half going through, getting lost, trying to figure out how to make my way through. You only have a limited amount of oxygen, so I ran out of oxygen a few times and then died and respawned back in the prison, so I had to go through and find my way through, and finally I make my way out to the outside of the prison. On my way I pass by this security table where you can see through this window, and there's these 2 security codes sitting up on it. I know there is a security code to be able to get the punch code to enter into here, so I'm like, maybe those are important. So I write down the 2 security codes. I got 6620, 9021. If you're going to try and use those codes, don't, because they reset, and I think they're random, so none of those codes will work. But those are the 2 codes that I wrote down. So I took those 2 codes, and I continued on, and I made it out, and I broke out of this jail, and I was like, this is great. I look down, and I see my oxygen is just about to run out. And I start booking it around on the outside. I find this container, and I see there's a code on it. So I punch in the first one, 6620. Gives me an option to open up the front and a door on the side. So open up both. I walk inside. Nothing in there. No vehicle. No nothing. So I'm like, oh, son of a gun! Like this couldn't get any worse. So I get out and I look around and I see another one far off on the other side. So of this, because I'm on top of this ventilation system on the top of the planet, and then hopping down off of it, I can run across the ground for probably like 2 kilometers and then make it up onto this other one. And it looked like there was another box over there. So I jump down and I start booking it over there. And I get up to it, and as I'm getting up to it, my oxygen is at 0%. I can see it dipping down, and I know I just got to get into this vehicle and pray to God that it's got some sort of oxygen system in it, so it's going to recharge my oxygen for me. So I go to punch in the code, 9021, and it says error. So I panic. I go back to it. I punch in 6620. It says error. I couldn't figure what was going on. I thought maybe there was a bug, maybe there was an issue. Later on, I found out that the code's reset after a timer. So if you're not fast enough, or if you get the codes and then you're right at the point where the timer hits, you're screwed. So between the point of me opening up the one box and not finding any vehicle in it and getting to the next box, the timer switched. And my God, was it devastating. Because the guy who I followed in he must have known what he was doing, because he made it through earlier than I did, and then he got the buggy and he got out of there. But I guess it turns out even if I'd gotten a buggy, it wouldn't have mattered, because I found out from some others after that you can escape from there, but once you escape, your bounty's still on you. I believe you get a bigger fine. You have to have another player with you, or kind of in a party with you, so they can come and fly down, pick you up, and get you out of there. And then you've got to go off these different satellites, and you got to either pay off your fines or go to a satellite system and hack into it with it's like a decryptor key or something like that, so you can reset your crime stat. But yeah, it's crazy. I'm really enjoying the life of a criminal in the game, and I'm looking forward to more elements coming out for it. I know right now it's not super lucrative. You can't really do much for the criminal aspects of towards other players. Like, you can go and harass them and be like, I'm gonna kill you if you don't pay me a bunch of money. And then they can either be like, nah, I'm good, and then fly away, or they could be like, nah, I'm good, and kill you, or they could be, nah, I'm good, and you kill them. But those are pretty much just 3 options. But God, it's great. God, it's late. The podcast right now, I'm recording this, it's 11:23 p.m. The podcast was supposed to be out, I don't know, like 18 or 19 hours ago. So it's pretty late. I really want to try and play Sims tonight, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. I don't think I'm going to have enough time. If I do, I'm going to be super tired for work tomorrow, and that's going to suck. So I don't think I'm going to get a chance to. But we did the game live stream playing this, and Thane set up this new system for the live stream where each of us who's live streaming, he gives us a stream address and like a code or something like that we put into our streaming software. And so instead of streaming it to YouTube or to Twitch or to the normal places, we're streaming to a server that he has at his house. And then he takes those different streams and he displays them on his computer. And then he streams from his computer to YouTube. So what this lets us do is we now have the perspectives of all of us playing the game. Because YouTube used to have the multi-stream system. So each person could stream their perspective, and then anybody could go and switch back and forth between them. But something happened, a bug wiped it out, or maybe YouTube just decided to stop doing it and just say that there's a bug with it and then never fix it. Because I think for the most part, when we did the multi-stream, everybody pretty much just stuck on the first video. They didn't really care for flipping around and checking out the other views, which makes sense. I mean, you're just watching the first view, you can hear everybody. Most people watching live streams, they have other stuff on the go anyways, so they're not really watching the screen. But with this, Thane can now jump around and change the perspective between anybody. So he can have, if there's a moment where Toll's doing something interesting, he'll switch to Toll as Toll's going through some crazy moments. And then if something else is happening with somebody else, he'll switch to them, and then he can just continue jumping back and forth between all of them. And it's really cool. It adds a whole new element to streaming for us, which I think is exciting, where there was a lot of things we used to do. So we have a YouTube channel called Gameplays, where we were doing some gameplay footage on it, but I basically told the guys, I'm like, all right, guys, I'll take charge of this. I like this. And then I never got around to editing the videos. I ended up doing other stuff instead. And so that kind of started to fall off. But we still keep up with the live streaming on it. And that happens once a week on Sundays. I believe it's noon Mountain Time. Is it 2 p.m. Eastern? I think it's something like that. Whatever time zone it is, it's for you, it's 10 Mountain Time, so just convert from that. Toll's usually the one in charge of that, and he does a whole bunch of fun stuff with it. But we used to do a series called Fortnite Games Night, which was a lot of fun, where we would get together, 3 or 4 of us, playing a custom map on Fortnite. Toll actually made most of the Fortnite maps that we did on that, and we would just mess around and play the game together, and then the editor would go through and swap the footage around. I think I edited 1 or 2 of them. We had an editor do a couple of them, and then another editor do a few of them, and then we just kind of fell off of it. We weren't really able to keep up with the editing parts, and I mean, it's tough to get an editor who is willing to put in the effort for what we were asking for free, because we're not making any money off this kind of stuff. That we can pay anybody with. So yeah, so that fell off, but we're really excited because we might be able to get Fortnite Games Night going again, but do it through this, which is really exciting, because then it's kind of like editing it on the real time, where if we do it right, we can have it cut through all the different types of footage as if it was being edited, and then upload it later. Or we can just do it as the live stream, like we were doing it like we were doing it with our normal live stream, and that could be, I think, just as exciting, because it's a lot of fun going through. There's so many amazing custom maps, and so many great things that you can do with the Fortnite's custom map modes, or custom game editor. I don't know what you call it. But yeah, I'm really excited for it, and I'm hoping we can do some stuff. We might even be able to do some live streams where we just, so a bunch of us from game get together. None of us have to be playing the same game. We could just be hanging out talking. And like, I could play Star Citizen, Toll could play Minecraft, Zio could play whatever dumb games he likes to play. Nab could be playing something different, and Thane could be playing something entirely different as well, and we could just all be hanging out talking, playing these games, and it just kind of jumps between all the perspectives. I think it's really exciting. And I'm really excited for what it is that we can do with it. So that's all I've really got for the podcast today. So we'll jump into the question of the week, which is, what video game hooked you faster than any other? And we want to know why. So that's, what video game has hooked you faster than any other game you've played? And what was the reason why? For me right now, it's definitely going to be Star Citizen, because I was hooked in almost immediately. I want to say it could have been the original Guild Wars, but it's been so long, so it's hard to say. But with this, it was just the freedom and all of the elements that they put in to make it such like an immersive space simulator where I could be anything I want to be, explore anything I want, which includes the exteriors and interiors of stations and ships. It's absolutely fantastic, and I just can't get enough of it. So that's going to be my game, but we want to know from you guys. Post in the comments here below. We're also going to post a YouTube post, which will link to the podcast itself, so you can post on there as well. And let us know, and we'll pick our favorite answers, and we will share them with you guys next podcast. So guys, have yourselves a good one. Enjoy the rest of your week. I believe this podcast is coming up, well, it's going to be probably up in like an hour from now, so it's going to be super early morning, kind of the same day as when we have one of our normal releases, I believe, for Next to Nothing. Or no, Next to Nothing's delayed, it's late, so this will work out fine. Alright guys, Spencer out.